The world is presently seeing a phenomenon of the power of young people. The facade that young people do not fully understand the complexities of the time has been shredded, and with this, another myth has been debunked. When the system fails to effectively involve all stakeholders, then it must be revised and reconstituted. The process of inclusion started with the understanding of empowerment. In the last piece, we tackled youth and development, how our participation can effectively improve our living standards and effectively contribute to national development. Now, as a culmination of that, our participation has to start with inclusion in decision making. So today we tackle youth involvement in decision making. The voice of the young people is ever so often heard in the corridors of our learning institutions, social media, and even protests. It is rarely heard in the corridors of power. The current environment is not proactive enough to effectively accommodate the dynamic nature of the young population, but rather always reacting to the sands of time after a major occurrence. Let us entertain this thought for a moment. If inclusion in decision making was as broad and comprehensive, matters important to the well-being of young people would be addressed on time, and policies created after effective consultation and debate will be progressive enough to accommodate the modern environment. Young people are a resource to a country. They are the working force of a nation. In pursuit of development, among important key stakeholders in the entire process is and always will be young people. But before we delve into the importance of young people being involved in decision making, consequently giving them a voice, let us address the lack thereof of the voice of young people. So, while contemplating on the word voice and what it means to have a voice, I came across a publication by Mark Hadfield and Kay Ho. It was published in the year 2001. The title of the publication is Voice, Young People and Action Research. They submit that voice is indeed the meaning that resides in an individual. Voice, they continue, enables that individuals to participate in a community. In addition, the struggle for voice begins when one person attempts to convey or communicate meaning to another. As part of the process, therefore, one has to find the word, speak it, and feel as though he or she is heard by others. Voice equally suggests relationships. This is in line with an individual's relationship to the meaning of his or her experiences, which are translated to language. In addition, in the suggestion of voice and relationships, an individual's relationship to another is most important due to the fact that in understanding, and that understanding is a social process. In addition, they further sample the work of Harley and Duxbury, which was published in the year 1999. And with this, they note that youth councils and forums are used in many areas around the globe to actually provide a voice for the local youth population. In this regard, young people often suffer in contrast by appearing tokenistic, or in other words, appearing to attract only more active and more able members of the community. If this isn't enough, many young people are suspicious of authority and often flounder as a result by being forced into adult decision-making mechanisms, and therefore they are being set up to fail. By choosing to be involved in decision-making, both young people and other stakeholders have to be realistic about expectations and the process of involvement. Now, each party does come to the table holding a selfish viewpoint. In some, everybody tries to prove that indeed their viewpoint is right. But what has been remarkable thus far is the immense capacity by young people to effectively listen and try to accommodate different points of view without resulting to chaos. This only demonstrates the dynamic that young people have and what a resource they can be. In following with the thought by Mark and Kay, the voice of young people isn't but heretic and baseless conclusions. Young people's claims to be more involved comes from a series of experiences at the hands of leadership. Over time, in pursuit of involvement, more often than not we have heard the phrase that says no experience. Nothing infuriates me more than this statement. The idea that, or the idea of experience is not objective but subjective. It goes a long way in disqualifying young talent from effectively participating in decision-making processes. No one can dictate to the different industries on the terms of engagement, especially for young people, but the individuals, owners of assets of the industry. But surely, when it comes right down to the specifics, policy formulation by political leadership in consultation with stakeholders can create a framework that dictates or guides respective players in an industry on how to engage young people. In this discussion, the voice of young people can only be heard if policy makers effectively engage with young people. But another issue arises. How can young people engage in leadership if by sharp contrast they do not have the support of their fellow young people? For a wholly and collaborative approach to youth and leadership, we have to make a couple of concessions. First is to appreciate that indeed, as more young people take up the opportunity and take up leadership roles across the divide, giving voice to young people will have a positive impact on the young people's confidence and self-esteem. This increased confidence is as a result of participatory activity and processes of involvement. For instance, confidence is generated from learning new skills and opportunity for young people to demonstrate capabilities less often required of them in the main curriculum. Young people's well-being is enhanced as a result of raised self-esteem. In addition, the experience of involvement of young people has the capacity to improve peer relationships. This is a result of improved understanding, awareness, trust, and attitudes towards others. Now, a sense of belonging is generated, and with this, young people generate a sense of ownership and responsibility, which acts as a motivation factor in advocating for better policies and participating in processes that are aimed at improving living conditions. So, as young people, involvement in decision making shouldn't be as a result of political promise or favor. Our involvement is assured by the very rights enshrined in the Constitution. A right to vote ensures that we can control the narrative. We can choose whichever direction we would want our nation to head to. We are to take responsibility of our actions, and that includes our choice of political office. As I have said once, this right cannot be influenced because it is not a matter of influence, but policy. We can effectively interrogate manifestos and policies by politicians and discern one that works for us. This should be a personal directive. Our involvement in decision making starts here, at the ballot. After the ballot, we owe it to ourselves to be active and engaged in national dialogue and debates. After electing leaders who have our best interests at heart, do not allow a decision to go through without your input. Be creative, be engaged, be involved, and be heard. Our voice must be heard in the corridors of power as loud as they are heard in social media. The time is now, and it is not tomorrow. And as I stated, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. By Margaret Mead.